Hello everybody. This is a follow-up video to my previous video, Funny Videos Worth Watching. This is Funny Stories Worth Hearing. Now the past few days, I got my little notebook here, right here. I wrote down some funny stories and experiences in my lifetime and want to share it with you guys because who doesn't love a good laugh? So without further ado, let me get to some funny stories that are worth hearing. Now, one of the things that pop in my mind is this apartment complex I used to live at back from I think 99 to 2001, around that time. It was called The Village, and it was a low rent type apartment. I think I was paid like $385 a month, and that included gas and water, and I've got lots of stories from stuff that went on there. At any rate, let me share a few funny ones with you. This is the pizza box story. I had a neighbor who moved in shortly after I did, and he had the habit of taking all his trash out of his apartment and sticking it outside his door in the hallway, and he'd have to walk around it. And he would leave his trash there for just about a week before he'd haul it out to the dumpster. And the dang dumpster was only like 10 feet away from where you come out by the parking lot. So at any rate, I got tired of this, and then it would smell and stink. And I didn't want the confrontation of going up to the guy, knocking on the door, and say, hey, stop being so dang lazy, take your trash, haul it out to the dumpsters. So I had an idea. I love pizza. So what I did for the next couple weeks, I'd order pizza a couple times a week, and I would save the boxes. I'd pull the crap out from the box with the cheese and stuff, and I'd stack them in my apartment on top of the fridge. So I had about, I want to say like anywhere from like 5 to 6 boxes, and good sized pizza boxes. So one night I snuck out, I want to say it was around 11 or 12 or whatever, and he had 3 or 4 garbage bags, and they were stacked in the hallway outside his door. So what I did is I took all my pizza boxes and put them in front of his door right by the trash cans, and then I found some juice bottles and junk under my sink and added that to his garbage. So he got the message, and I want to say about a day or two later, I saw his trash in the pizza boxes and everything was taken out the dumpster, and he stopped putting all his trash out front. But I thought that was so funny. It was a good, clever idea. I think he took the message. I just added to his trash. Another one I call this like the beer bottle story. I had a neighbor below me, and he'd have a lot of parties and friends over and whatnot. Anyway, we're all young, having fun. This is in my 20s. But what I got really upset about was he'd be blasting the music, and they all be talking and all that crap to about 3:30 in the morning. And this would be on a Tuesday or Wednesday when I'm trying to go to work and I want to, get some sleep. Any rate, I had a good, clever idea, similar to the pizza box story. I had a bin where I put all my beer bottles and pop cans and junk. So I grabbed about 6 or 8 beer bottles, and right where the door is, there's like a little small ledge where the door is, and you step out your apartment door. So I took the 6 or 8 beer bottles, and he had a party going on again. I think it was Thursday or Friday night. And I snuck down there and I put all the beer bottles in front of his door and just lined them up. Now, you will not see those unless like you're looking down as you step out. I want to say about a half hour later, some people were leaving, and I could hear the door open, and I hear this push, 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 push. All the cussing and swearing. Somebody went out the door and knocked down all the beer bottles. It fell down. He got the message, similar to the pizza box story. Okay, here's one more story from this apartment complex I lived at, The Village. It's you got to hear this. I was working midnights at the time on a midnight shift, and I think it was around like 12 p.m., maybe 11:30, a few hours after I got home and got to sleep. I hear this crying, like a baby crying, and it's louder and louder, and it keeps going on and on. So finally, I get out of bed. So I said, let me go outside my apartment and see what in the world is going on. As soon as I open my door, there's this little baby standing right outside my apartment door, crying. And I'm looking around like, where'd this baby come from? Who's this baby belong to? So long story short, I ended up having to call the police, told them what's going on. So I'm with this baby, Now, keep in mind, I did walk around 4 or 5 apartments right near mine and knocked on the doors, and all the doors were closed. No answer. So anyway, long story short, the police get there. So they push on each door, pop, 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 and they finally get to this last door down on the bottom tier. There was 3 tiers, like 3 floors of apartments. The door pushes open. They walk inside, and they announce themselves. Some, I want to say, like a 9 or 10-year-old kid gets up and walks out, and then the kid recognizes the baby. Anyway, the police find some book near a phone. Now, this was back in 2000 or 99, when a lot of people had the landline phones and books. At any rate, so the parents come out, or some relatives, they all come out, and believe me, the police read them the riot act, which is very irresponsible. But what I found funny is, like, some babies outside my apartment door crying, and I'm like, where does baby come from? I had a lot of more strange and funny and weird stories from this old apartment complex I lived at, the Village. Okay, moving on. Here's another good story I have. This is years and years ago. I was with a group of 3 or 4 of my friends, and we were on our way to go out to the bar. I think the Red Wings game was on. I live near Detroit. Any rate, we stop at a 7-Eleven. One of my friends has got to get a pack of smokes and, some pop and some junk out of there. And there was, I think, 3 of us. So as soon as I'm walking out of the 7-Eleven, one of my buddies comes out with me. We're waiting on our other friend who's still inside. And there's a police car coming this way. And next to the 7-Eleven is one of these residential side streets, and it goes out to the main road. So as a police car is coming this way, a car comes, boom! It just creams the police car. Didn't stop, no nothing. Just pow! Pushed the police car back. Now, the driver of that car didn't get injured. The police officer didn't get injured. But we just started laughing and busting up. I'm like, of all things, this idiot didn't stop and just drove right into the intersection. And of all cars to hit, you hit a police car. Yeah, just a funny story. Okay, what do I got here? Oh, this is another good one I had. This is back in my younger years. And it was over in Canada, in Windsor, Canada. I was with some friends, and we went across the tunnel there that goes from Detroit to Canada. So we went to some bar in Canada, and it had like music and a DJ and a dance floor, and everybody's in there, mostly younger crowd. I'm in my early 20s. Any rate, as I'm walking near the dance floor, I'm going over to see a friend of mine at the bar, and he's talking with a couple of ladies. Some guy comes up, boom! I mean, not punch me, I'm sorry, but elbows me, pow, like that, as he's walking by, boosh, push me out of the way. So I look at him, and oh man, I got hot. And I literally said, I said, what the F is your problem? And he had some girlfriend or lady friend with him, and she grabbed him. And then he gave me a dirty look, and I could tell he was just drunk off his butt. So I just turned around, and I went over to my friends, and I told them what happened. And we said, well, we'll keep an eye on him. If he comes over causing trouble, we'll deal with him. So anyway, about 15 minutes later, I hear this commotion. And here's one of these bouncers. They got this kid in a full Nelson. That's basically the arms come around the neck. Under the armpits and the neck, a full Nelson, and his head back. And this bouncer, he's got to be like 6'3", 6'4", and just, built like he's in Gold's Gym every day. He has him off the ground, and he lifts him up, and he walks him right to the door. And the bouncer or the guy at the door opens the door, and he just throws him outside, and he lands on his feet. And this dumb kid who's drunk, he comes back at the bouncer, and just as he gets close to the bouncer, pow, nails him an uppercut. Boop. The guy just laid out. I mean, it was like a knockout you see on some of these boxing highlight videos. And I was laughing. I was like, talk about karma. What comes around goes around, This is a good one I remember. I wrote it down here. A party at the Motel 6. This is, I think, my senior year of high school, if I remember correctly. At any rate, I'm over at my friend's house, and there's a couple of us over there, and one of them gets a call. It says, hey, it's another friend of a friend, and they're like, hey, we're having a big party, and this is like about 2 miles from where we're at this Motel 6. So we're like, we ain't doing nothing but having some drinks and talking and shooting a gab. We're like, yeah, let's go over check out the party. So we get there, and I never forget, we were crammed in. There was 3 of us. We were crammed in a Camaro. So I get there, and this Motel 6 is one of those ones that's got 2 floors, and then the top floor has like the wood balcony thing, you know, and you walk up the cement stairwell. So the hotel party is going on the 2nd floor. We get in there, and there must have been about like 12 or 15 people in there, and it's fairly loud. And about 2 minutes being in there, I mean, there's just junk all over the floor, chip bags, beer cans, and crap, and people talking. So this one guy, he really got drunk, and he takes that coat rack to do a pull-up, does a pull-up, and rips the thing out of the wall. And then all of a sudden, it starts getting louder and louder. So I step outside, and one of my friends that came with me, and it was his Camaro, his car. I said, hey, we need to get out of here. It's only going to be a matter of time before the hotel staff comes in here and breaks this thing up, or they're going to call the cops and have the cops come out. And keep in mind, most of us were underage as far as drinking. Now, I wasn't drinking at the time, but there's alcohol in that room. So it's going to be trouble. At any rate, about like 3 or 4 minutes later, my buddy who's driving the Camaro gets his other friends and say, we tell him some excuse. We got to go over, hit the store, go to so-and-so's house. We get out of there. But this is the funny part. We get in his car. We all load up in his Camaro. And just as we're pulling out of this Motel 6, we had to do a turnaround, because there's one lane going east, one going west. We had to go, I believe it was west, but we turn out east. So as we turn out of that motel, just as we get about maybe 10 yards, all of a sudden 2 police cars come flying. Wham, wham. And then another 3rd police car come in the other side of the motel. So as we go slow doing our turnaround coming down the road, and sure enough, they pulled in right under that apartment in the room. They all got the party, and then I think someone got the minor in possession with the alcohol, and the guy who rented the room out, I was told he had to pay like $600 or $700 in damages. But talk about narrow. We were laughing. We're like, man, we got out of there in the nick of time. But it's just one of those funny things. This is another good story. This is oh gosh, I want to say back in 2000, a place I worked at. It's a business, a corporate building. And at any rate, I was on the midnight shift, and part of my job, I'd go in the back of the building, and I'd go around and check the building out, make sure everything was fine. So I get in the vehicle to check the building out, and behind the building in the parking lot was an off-ramp or on-ramp to a major freeway. So this kid comes running down this hill from like this on-ramp or off-ramp, towards my car. And so first thing pops in my mind, oh, his car probably broke down. So he comes up, hey, you got a phone I can use? Can I use a phone? So I tell him, I say, what happened? Did your car break down? Or, He goes, no. Anyway, this kid was in the car with his girlfriend, and him and his girlfriend got in an argument. She pulled the car over, kicked him out of the car on the off-ramp or this on-ramp, and just took off and left him there. So this poor kid, I let him come in the building, in our lobby, which was like a security area. That we have like one of these like guest courtesy telephones. And he called one of his brother or his friend to pick him up. And then he had to wait outside the building for a half hour or 40 minutes was for his ride to come pick him up. But I found it so funny. I'm like, you should wait till you get home to argue with your girlfriend and not in the car. And I don't know what the argument was, what it was about. I didn't ask, but it's not a good idea. She kicked him out of the car right on the off-ramp or on-ramp to the freeway. And this was about, I think, 1 in the morning or 1:30. Another good story. I wrote this down. A house I used to live at some years back. I want to say this around 2004, 2005. Across the street from me was a Topless Dancer. And I never spoke to her much personally other than like hello and goodbye or have a good day, or, I'd wave at her when I'd be pulling out of my driveway if I saw her in the yard, and that was about it. But gosh, I want to say this happened about a little over a year after I moved in this new house I had. And she had 2 or 3 different boyfriends. It seemed like every 3 or 4 months she had a different boyfriend that was either living with her or coming over to see her. So this, I think it was like a Wednesday or Thursday. It was during the weekday in the afternoon, around like 4 o'clock or 3:30, something like that. Any rate, I hear all this commotion, and I open my front door. I go outside to see what's going on, and I see her boyfriend at the time that she was with, and some other guy, and he had this beat up pickup truck in her driveway. She is taking dresser drawers and throwing them out her front door in the yard, on the porch. It looked like a scene out of some movie or TV show, and items and clothing and crap, and him and his friend. Just as soon as they could pick something up and put it in the back of the truck, she opened the door again and cuss and swear and throw more stuff out the front door. I was just laughing. It was like those movie scenes you'd see or some TV show. And that went on for about a good half hour before he finally got all his stuff and got it loaded up in the truck. Okay, I got a couple more good stories here from a car dealership. This is back in my 20s. I worked at a car dealership as a auto porter and a lube tech. Any rate, I never forget this. This is so funny. The salesman was with this older lady, and she just purchased a brand new Pontiac Bonneville. And I remember we had to close the front bay doors, these big overhead doors that would come down in the shop. And usually they'll park the car out in front of the dealership when they get a new car, and then, take the people out there to go in and tell them a little about the car. But it happened to be raining out real heavy, so they pulled it in the shop for the lady, and the salesman gets in the car with her, is explaining a few things about this new Pontiac Bonneville. Long story short, the front bay doors are closed, and the back doors were open because the way the rain was coming. So he's in the car for a few minutes, talks to her, and he tells her, he goes, he had the passenger window down. He goes, just let one of the people here in the service shop know when you're ready to leave. They'll open up the door for you. So there's about 4 or 5 of us in there. Long story short, this is the funny part. All of a sudden, the car starts up. Boosh! We look over. She puts it in drive and runs it right in the bay door. Pow! Into the overhead door. And it had like sections, like my fingers, as it roll up like this. And she must have took out 5 or 6 sections of that door and smashed it. In her car, she didn't stop it or hit the brakes right away. She literally just took 2 or 3 of these sections of the overhead door and just pushed them right out and smashed it right into there. We had to have a company come out the next day and repair the whole door. The other story I have here, this is it. We had a salesman at the same dealership here, and he was kind of a jerk. He'd be, how should I say, he'd really be demanding, and he'd treat some people nasty, from the technicians that worked in the shop, the mechanics, to in the service department, the parts department. But anyway, he wasn't liked by too many people in there because his attitude. So long story short, 1 or 2 of the mechanics pulled a joke on him, and it was just funny. They took one of these shop rags, which is basically a towel. It's like a dark red color towel, and they went to his car in the parking lot, and they put the shop rag over his license plate, and they covered up his license plate, tucked it in. This guy came in the next day. Oh, was he mad? And our service manager had to come out and talk to everybody in the service department together. Like, yeah, I know you might think it's a funny joke. Long story short, he got pulled over by the police on the way home from work. Now, he didn't get a ticket, but he had to explain to the police officer why this shop rag's over his plate, and the police officer ran his license, and they had a big talk. You can't cover up the license plate. But it's just one of those funny pranks and jokes, man. I never forget that. This is another good one. A swimming pool at a community center. I used to teach swim lessons and lifeguard back in the 90s. I was on a swim team in high school. Anyway, I was working there, and I was doing a swim class, and I just finished up my swim class. And another kid who was a friend of mine, he was lifeguarding because it was my swim class finished up. They had an open swim where people were coming in the community center and they'd swim. So we're sitting there talking for 5 or 6 minutes, and I still had like another 10 or minutes or so to kill before I clocked out. Any rate, as we're sitting there talking, a lady comes out of a locker room. There's these locker rooms with the showers in there to change and the lockers, you know, before you come out on the pool deck. She comes out, and we just were like, oh my God. She walks out with her bag of stuff, okay, to go to the pool, stark naked. And I think there was about 10 or 12 people in the pool and around the pool. She sets her bag down. She takes 2 steps forward towards the pool. She was by the shallow end, and there was like a bench where she put her junk down before she realized she's naked. And what makes this even funnier, she looks like this, like that, you know, like startled. So she turns around, grabs her bag, runs back in the ladies' locker room. She came back out 3 or 4 minutes later with the swimsuit on and started swimming. I'm like, I would be too damn embarrassed if I came out naked in front of people to come back out again. Just one of those funny things, I tell you. I'm trying to see. Any rate, I just want to wrap this up. These are some funny stories here I wanted to share. They're funny stories worth hearing. I'm sure we've all got funny stories that have happened in our lifetime, you know, and those are some of the funny things. And with all the news of what's going on, it's good to get a laugh, take a break, enjoy some humor. Anyway, I want to say, before I wrap up this video, a big thank you to all my subscribers. Believe me, I do appreciate you guys subscribing, watching my videos, dropping those comments and likes. I truly appreciate it. So until my next video, stay safe and enjoy life.